let's be honest, you know that feeling. Where it just seems like the
because you
world
want to get
is
straight to the good
actively,
stuff, right?
like
Grab
conspiring
that
to
key
drain
knowledge,
you.
get those aha
Time
moments.
just vanishes, energy
but without,
plummets.
getting totally bogged
Focus
down.
feels
Exactly.
like this
No fluff,
distant
just
memory
the core insights.
and
So
joy.
today we're diving
Well,
straight
that often
into
gets
Sean
buried under,
Akers, the happiness
social media
advantage.
notifications.
We're giving
those
you the
headlines that just
shortcut to
spike your
understanding what
anxiety.
really makes this
and the
book
to-do
tick.
list.
And right
oh
off
my
the
God,
bat,
the
the big
endless
thing, Acre
to-do
Challenge
list
is
that
that old
never seem
idea.
to get shorter.
You know,
It's a
that
constant
success is
battle,
what
isn't
makes
it?
you happy.
That
Right.
feeling
He
of being
flips it
overwhelmed.
completely.
Yeah.
It's,
He argues
it's
and
very
backs it
real
up with
for a lot of
research,
people today.
which we'll
Right.
get into.
It's not
That's
just in your
actually
head.
the other way around.
That's
It's the environment we're
absolute
living
core
in,
of
the
it.
sheer
Happiness
volume
isn't
of
the prize you
information that
get
demands
after
on
you
our
succeed.
attention.
It's the
It
engine.
creates that pressure.
It's what drives the
Exactly.
success.
And
That's a
well, that's
fundamental
why we
shift.
wanted to dive deep into
We're so
something we
often
found
taught
incredibly
to
helpful.
chase
This
the
idea of a
success
7-day
first,
reset.
thinking happiness will
Now,
follow.
this isn't
Totally
some like
conditioned that way.
radical
But
life overhaul.
Acres'
we're
work
talking
is
about. Not at
compelling
all.
because
Much
it's
more
evidence-based.
Yeah, it's a simple
This
checklist.
isn't just
Yeah.
wishful
Just
thinking.
7 actionable
We're going to
steps,
unpack
things you
how
can
cultivating
actually
happiness
do
can
to
actually
kind of push back
tangibly
against that
improve
feeling,
performance.
you know?
Yeah.
Your
Regain some
career,
control over your week.
productivity,
And hopefully
relationships,
bring back a bit more of
all
that.
of it.
Okay, so
Time,
let's nail
energy,
down the central
happiness,
concept.
the things that feel
The
like they're
happiness
slipping away.
advantage.
Exactly.
It's
And
more
what's
than
great
just
about
a
this
name.
approach, I think,
It really
is how
describes the
practical
brain
it is.
state,
Yeah.
doesn't
Not
it?
just theory.
Yeah, when your
It's a
brain is
tangible
positive, you
framework.
get these
Right.
real
And
advantages.
as we go through these
You
7
perform
steps, we
better,
can touch on some of
think
the
more
research too.
creatively.
You know, bounce back
why
faster from
these
setbacks.
small
you see
actions
things
can actually
more
have a
constructively.
pretty big impact
And there's
on
actual
how we feel
biology
overall.
behind this, right? It's
Absolutely.
not
and
just
hey,
psychological
don't worry about
fluff.
scribbling
No,
notes like
definitely
crazy
not.
while we talk.
There's
Right.
a biochemical
There's a
basis.
one-page downloadable
When we
checklist.
feel happy,
Super
our
simple.
brain
It's over at
releases things like
melrobbins.com.
dopamine,
Perfect,
and
easy
serotonin.
reference.
Okay,
Yeah,
most people know
because
those make you
really
feel good.
having a
Right,
good
but they
week,
do
a
more
great
than that.
week,
They actually sharpen our
it isn't
cognitive
usually
functions.
about hitting
How
some huge
so?
milestone,
Like,
is
what
it?
does that mean
Not
day to
usually,
day?
no.
It's often
It
just
means you
the
can process
combination, the
things faster,
cumulative effect
you're
of
more
these
accurate,
7 like
you handle
surprisingly
stress better,
straightforward things.
And like we said, you
Adds up.
recover quicker
Okay,
when
so let's
things
get
go
into it.
wrong.
Number
It's like a
1.
natural performance enhancer.
The
And
brain
the really
dump.
cool part is this isn't
brain
something
dump,
you're just
yes.
born
For anyone who
with,
hasn't heard of
right?
this,
Exactly.
what?
That's the most
What
empowering
is a brain
piece.
dump? Why is it the
Acre
first step?
argues
Yeah.
strongly
Well, think of it as
that
literally
it's a skill.
A skill you can develop.
Yeah,
emptying
something
out
you
your
can
brain.
practice.
Yeah.
And
all
then
the
use
thoughts, the
strategically
tasks,
every
the worries,
day
ideas,
to achieve more.
everything that's rattling
We'll
around
definitely
up there,
touch on some
taking up
practical ways
space.
to
Okay.
do that.
And it
It's
helps
the
to
act
know
of
where he's
getting that
coming
internal
from.
clutter
Acre isn't just some
out
guy
and
with an
onto something
opinion.
external. Paper,
No, he was a
notes app,
lecturer at
whatever
Harvard.
works.
It's kind of
Deep
like
into
hitting a mental
positive
reset
psychology
button.
research.
Right, exactly.
So this
For
stuff
me,
is
yeah, I just
grounded
grab a
in
notepad
actual
or
academic
sometimes
work.
just the
For
notes
sure.
app on my
and the
phone.
book pulls from different
Just
fields
let it
too.
all spill out.
Not just psychology.
And it can be anything,
Neuroscience,
like
too,
seriously,
like brain
anything.
stuff.
Pick up the
Yeah,
dry cleaning.
neuroscience, looking at how the
Remember
brain
that
responds.
lasagna recipe, Colin
And
Carroll?
organizational behavior.
That work
seeing how this
presentation
plays
that's
out in
looming,
workplaces.
cleaning out that junk
He's worked
drawer,
with
buying a
huge
gift.
companies, Fortune
Nothing's
500s,
too big or too
schools,
small.
government.
That's
So he's
precisely
seen it
the
in
point.
action.
You want to
Okay, so let's
capture
really
the
get into that
entire
core
landscape
principle
of what's
then,
on
the
your mind.
happiness advantage itself.
People are often really
Playing that
surprised,
success
actually,
leads
when they
to
see how many
happiness
things their brain
idea.
is juggling.
Right. And the
Often
key is how
subconsciously.
being
Oh,
positive
definitely.
actually
And that's a big
boosts our
part of
abilities.
why we feel
Okay.
scattered
When you're in that
sometimes.
positive state,
Right.
Why it's hard
your
to
brain
focus.
just
Totally.
works
When you
better.
see it all
You're
written
more
down, it's
resilient,
like,
better
whoa,
at solving problems.
And it
okay,
creates a
no
kind of
wonder I can't
positive
focus.
feedback loop.
Look at all the
Exactly.
stuff running
You're
in the
happier.
background. I've done
So you have
brain
more
dumps
success,
for years,
which then makes
on
you
and off.
happier still.
Sometimes it's just a quick
builds
list.
on
Other
itself.
times,
This upward spiral.
like if
Yeah.
I'm really overwhelmed,
And
I
think
might
about those
categorize
chemicals
things.
again,
Yeah,
dopamine,
that can be helpful.
serotonin.
I remember
They actually
packing
improve memory,
for a business
attention
trip
span,
recently. I used
creativity.
3 Post-its.
He has that example with
Work,
the doctors, doesn't
personal,
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
home,
Doctors
just to make sure I
put in
wasn't
a
forgetting
positive
like
mood.
chargers,
They
all the
made diagnoses
presentation
faster
notes, and
and more
remembering to tell the
accurately
neighbor
than
about
the
the
others.
cat. Wow,
That's
so
a
it's not
great
just
way to
about
do it.
feeling
That
cheerful;
act
it's
of
about
getting it out,
actual
externalizing it.
capability.
Absolutely.
It does a couple of
Directly
key
impacts
things.
performance.
First,
And the
it
research
frees up
numbers he
cognitive
quotes are pretty
resources.
striking.
Your
Like
brain
what?
isn't
Like
constantly trying
happier
to hold on
employees
to
being
everything,
around
so
31%
more focus,
more
more
productive.
clarity.
31%.
Right.
That's
And
huge.
second, like you said,
And
it
then
gives you
sales
that
figures.
clear overview.
Often
You see what
37%
you're dealing
higher.
with.
Plus,
That's the
they're
first
seen as
step
more
to figuring
creative,
out why
better
you feel
leaders, more
overwhelmed.
resilient.
And it's so
And they get
important to
better
remember
feedback,
this
too.
isn't a
yeah,
to-do
more
list
positive
yet,
reviews
right?
from
Crucial
colleagues
point.
and bosses.
Yeah.
And this
Absolutely
isn't just
not.
about
No
work,
pressure
is
to
it?
do
It
any of
of it
boils
right
over.
now is
Definitely.
just
Big impact
getting
on
it out.
physical
Just
health,
the
too.
active release.
Better immune
I was talking
function,
to Tracy, our
faster
executive
recovery
producer,
from illness,
about this.
Yeah.
even
and she was
potentially
laughing
living longer.
because
Okay.
Organize the
So
Bookshelf
the
apparently
big question then
shows
is
up
how?
on her home brain
How do
dump
we actually
every
cultivate
single week.
this?
Right. And he
For
gives
months.
very practical,
Yes.
actionable things.
We all have
stuff you can
those,
start
don't we?
doing right
Totally.
away.
It's
Like
that
the
thing
gratitude
you feel
journal
you should
thing.
do, but it
Exactly.
just never quite
Sounds
happens.
simple,
It reminded me
maybe,
of my own
but taking
picture
a few
wall
minutes each day to
situation.
write down what you're
We
grateful
lived in our
for,
house for 4 years.
it really shifts your
4
outlook.
years.
Makes you more
Wow.
optimistic.
And
Yeah,
there
improves
is not a
relationships,
single
boosts
picture on
overall
the wall.
happiness,
Not one.
but you have
And
to
every
actually
week, I
feel
swear,
the
picture wall
gratitude,
ends up
not
on
just
my brain
list
dump.
things.
Got it. And
like
the
a
three
little
good
mental
things.
placeholder.
Similar idea.
Yeah, it's like we carry
At the
these
end of the day,
unfinished
just
things
reflecting
around in our
on
heads,
3
creating this
positive things that
low-level
happen,
hum
big
of
or small.
obligation.
It trains your brain
Those
to notice the
lingering
good,
tasks,
doesn't
even
it? Fights
small
that
ones,
negativity
they
bias
create
we all
mental
have.
noise. Writing
Precisely.
them down
Then there's
acknowledges
activation
them.
energy.
It's like saying, okay, I see you,
Activation
but
energy,
without
what's
letting them
that?
drain your
It's
energy.
about making good habits
Right.
easier
and honestly, after
bad
a good
habits
brain
harder.
dump, there's this
Setting up your environment
lightness,
for
a
success.
sense of
Ah,
relief.
okay. Like
Mental
putting your running
decluttering.
shoes by the
Yeah,
door.
like a mental,
Exactly.
I don't know, it's just
Or
spray
maybe
tan. You
keeping
just
the
feel
TV remote
instantly a
somewhere
bit better,
inconvenient if
less
you want to watch
burdened.
less
That's a
TV.
good analogy.
Small
Okay,
tweaks,
so
big impact.
we've vomited
And
our brains
crucially,
onto paper.
social support.
Mentally
This
spray
is huge.
tanned.
Having
What's
good
next?
people around you.
Step 2
Yeah.
in the 7-day
Strong
reset.
social connections
All right,
are
step
an
2 is called free
incredibly
yourself.
powerful predictor
Ooh,
of
I like the
long-term
sound of that.
well-being.
So now you've got this big
Maybe
list,
even
right?
more than
Everything
money
that was in your
or
head.
career
The
success.
next step is to
Really?
look at it, really look at
More
it,
than money.
and cross
That's
off
what the research
everything you have
suggests. They act
absolutely
as a
zero
buffer
intention of
against
doing
stress,
this week.
help you recover
Oh.
from setbacks.
Okay.
Knowing you've got
Yeah.
backup.
This is the good part.
It's incredibly
And this
liberating.
applies in
Permission
companies
to
too.
just
Think
let
about places
go
like Google with
without
all their
guilt.
perks.
Exactly. No
They
guilt.
focus on
Be honest
employee
with yourself.
happiness.
Right.
Tracy's
and
bookshelf.
those companies tend to have
If she
lower
knows
turnover,
deep down
higher
it is not
engagement,
happening this
better
week.
performance,
Cross it
and
off.
smart business.
Stop
And
wasting
schools,
mental energy
too.
feeling
Yeah,
bad
schools that
about it.
focus on
Right,
student
because we
well-being,
carry around so many shoulds
gratitude
and
programs,
ought-tos.
We really do.
resilience
And
training,
they add
often
up,
see better academic
contributing
results,
to that mental load,
fewer
even if we're not
behavior
actually going to
problems.
So it
do
all
them
comes back to
anytime
this
soon.
idea,
This step
happiness
is about
isn't
consciously
passive.
reclaiming
It's a
that
choice.
mental space.
And a
I had
skill you
such
can
a
build.
classic
And
example
by building
of this. I
it,
have
you
this
set
FedEx
yourself
box.
up for
It's been
more
sitting
success.
by my desk
Okay, let's
for,
talk about
I am not
mindset
kidding,
then. He
probably
uses
4 or
this
5
metaphor.
years.
Oh, wow.
The
It's
fulcrum
full
and
of
lever.
old
Yeah,
photos.
it's a really neat
Freshman
analogy.
year college,
The idea is
1986.
that your mindset
An
is
ice
the
skating trip from
the pivot
1981.
point.
Uh-huh.
And by
Wow,
adjusting
treasures.
your mindset,
Yeah, well, dusty
you get
treasures in a
more
box.
leverage,
And every time
more
I look at it,
power
I think,
to deal with challenges.
I
and
really
achieve
should go
things.
through those photos,
It's
put them in
about
an
how
album.
you frame your
But
world.
realistically,
deeper
this
than just
week,
think
with
positive.
everything
Oh,
else
yeah.
going on,
It's
is
about
that
fundamentally
happening?
changing
No,
your
absolutely
perspective
not.
Right.
to see
So I look at my brain
possibilities
dump, see
instead of just
photo box,
limitations.
and I just
And this connects to Carol
Cross it
Dweck's
off.
work on mindset
for this week.
Fixed
and seriously,
versus
the
growth.
relief,
Exactly.
just
A growth
deciding
mindset,
not to
believing
think
your
about it for
abilities
the
can be
next
developed,
7 days
is key
felt
to using that fulcrum
amazing.
That's the
effectively.
power of
A
making
fixed
an
mindset
intentional
limits your
decision.
leverage.
You're choosing what
And then
gets
he
your
talks about
energy
the
right
Tetris
now.
effect.
Yeah.
That's
It could be
interesting.
It
anything.
is. It
Yeah,
describes
junk
how our
drawer,
brains get
a
stuck
bag
in
of clothes
patterns
for
based on what
donation
we
sitting in the
focus
trunk
on.
for 3
Like playing
months.
too much
guilty.
Tetris and seeing blocks
If it's not a real
everywhere.
priority for this week, give
But
yourself
if you
permission.
constantly
Let
focus
it
on the
go.
negative problems,
Guilt-free.
It
complaints,
really feels
your
like
brain gets
taking back
trained to
control of
scan
your
for
own mind.
negativity
Stop
all the
carrying all
time.
that
You
extra
start seeing
baggage.
problems
Make room for
even
what
when they
actually
aren't really
matters
there.
now.
Right.
Okay.
It becomes
so,
a filter.
brain dump done.
But the good news
Freed
is you
ourselves
can
from the
create
stuff
a
we're
positive
not
Tetris
doing this
effect
week.
by
Now,
consciously
step 3.
practicing positivity.
Choose one thing.
Gratitude,
The hot
focusing on
15.
successes, thinking
Yes.
optimistically.
This
You
is
retrain
crucial.
your brain to
so
scan
after
for the
steps
good
1 and
stuff.
2, your
So those
list should be
gratitude
a
journals
bit more
and
focused,
3
right?
good
More
things
manageable.
exercises,
Hopefully.
they're
From
actually
what's
helping
left,
create
the next
this
step is
positive
to intentionally
Tetris
choose
effect.
Exactly.
just
They're
one
tools to
thing.
rewire
Just
your
one.
focus.
That almost
counter
sounds
that
too
negativity
easy
bias.
in our
And in a
crazy
work
gotta do
context,
everything
focusing
culture.
on
It might
success
seem too
patterns,
simple, but the key
that
word
helps
here
too.
is
Absolutely.
meaningful.
Okay.
Boosts
Meaningful.
job satisfaction,
This should be something that you would feel
relationships,
genuinely
engagement,
better
leaders who
about
foster
if you
this,
just made a little bit of
acknowledging
progress on
wins,
it.
celebrating
Even a
progress,
tiny
build
step
team
forward.
confidence and collaboration.
It's about
So it's
connecting
about
with something
intentionally
that
setting your
resonates
mental
personally,
fulcrum
something
to
that adds
empower
to your sense
yourself.
of
Like
well-being
seeing a
or,
tough
you know,
project
purpose.
as a chance
So it doesn't
to
have to
learn,
be huge.
not just
It
a
could
burden.
be
Precisely
finally
that.
spending 15
That small
minutes trying to
shift
play that
changes
guitar.
everything.
Absolutely.
You'll
Or
approach it differently with more
tackling one
energy.
small
And Anchor
part
says
of
we
a big
can create a
annoying task,
self-fulfilling
like
prophecy
sorting
this
through
way
a pile of
by
health
controlling
insurance
our
claims.
internal
Yes,
story.
perfect example.
Or
Yeah.
just like
Our beliefs
reaching
shape
out
our
to a friend
actions,
who's been on
and
your
our
mind.
actions shape our
Exactly.
results.
Anything that
Believing in
feels meaningful
possibility
to you.
makes success more
It's
likely.
about
It's
fighting
like we're
back
co-creating
against
our
that
reality
feeling
through our
that
perspective.
the world is
in a
stealing
very
all
real
the meaning,
sense, yes.
pulling you away
Adjusting
from
that
what
fulcrum,
matters.
Right.
tuning into
Reclaiming
positive
a
patterns, it
little
gives you
piece
so much
of your
more
week
power.
for yourself.
Okay, so
And,
happiness
okay,
fuels
confession
success.
time.
Mindset gives
After
us leverage.
4 years, I
But
finally
what about when
circled
things inevitably
picture
go
wall on my
wrong,
list.
setbacks happen.
Progress.
Right, and that's
It
where
felt
his
like this
principle
tiny
of falling
act
up
of
comes in.
rebellion against
Falling
my
up.
own
Yeah,
procrastination.
it's about how we respond to
But
failure.
here's the key part, right?
Seeing it
Circling
not as
it
the
didn't
end,
mean I had to
but as
hang
part of
every
the
single
path
picture
forward.
this week.
So
Very
reframing
important
failure
distinction.
as
Absolutely not.
because
a
that would
learning
still feel
opportunity.
totally
Exactly.
overwhelming.
It's not
Right,
just
circling it
unavoidable. It can
means
actually be a
committing to
catalyst
just
for growth
15 minutes, the hot
if we
15
choose to see
work
it that
on
way.
This
Just
builds
15 minutes, make
resilience,
some
right?
kind of
That ability to
progress,
bounce
however
back.
small it
Definitely.
seems.
And the next
Understanding
crucial
failure
bit,
is part of
you have to
learning,
actually
makes you
schedule
better
it.
at handling
Put it in your
stress,
calendar.
adapting,
With an alarm.
and
Yes.
ultimately thriving
Because,
despite
as they say,
adversity. Falling up
It's
means
not
coming
real
back
until it's
stronger.
scheduled.
So
We share
true.
stories about
Plans
this,
are
right?
just
Athletes,
intentions.
entrepreneurs.
Scheduling
Yeah,
makes it
people who
happen.
hit major
That
roadblocks, but
scheduled
use them
time
to
makes
learn
it
and
intentional.
adjust,
It
to eventually
dramatically
succeed
increases
even
the
more.
odds you'll actually
Setbacks
do it.
become
Mhm.
data
It goes
points.
from a
And he
vague
mentions
wish
cognitive
to a
reappraisal,
concrete commitment.
changing how
And
we
guess what?
interpret things.
I
Yes,
actually
that's a key
did it.
technique.
After
Yeah.
I
Actively
circled
changing
picture
your
wall, I
interpretation of a
literally
negative
sat down
event
Did a
to
quick
find a more
search for
constructive
picture hanging
angle.
services.
Like losing a job.
Found some online places
Instead of
some
seeing
local
it
stores
purely
that
as
do
failure.
it.
Nice.
You could reframe
Take
it.
an action.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a chance to explore
And then I looked
a
at
new
my
field,
calendar and I
learn new
scheduled an appointment
skills,
for a
reassess what
Sunday,
you really
like 3
want.
weeks out.
Finding the potential
but
upside,
just
even
doing
in
the
difficulty.
research and putting it
It
in
lessens
the
the
diary
negative hit and
felt
builds confidence
huge.
for
Like I
future
was finally
challenges.
moving
And then there's
forward.
post-traumatic
And that
growth.
feeling of
That
moving
sounds
forward, that's
intense.
incredibly
It can
powerful.
be.
It ties
But
directly
it's the
to
idea
something
that
called the
really
progress
significant
principle.
challenges
tell me
can
more.
lead to positive
It's based on research from
transformations.
Harvard Business
Not just
School.
getting back to
They
normal,
found
but
that
actually
the single most
growing
important
because of the
thing that makes
hardship.
people feel
Exactly.
good about their
People
work,
report
and have a
greater
good day or
strength,
week,
deeper
is
relationships,
feeling like they're making
a stronger
progress
sense
on
of
meaningful
purpose
work.
after
Wow.
navigating tough times.
More important than
So
actually
focusing
finishing
on that
things.
potential
Often,
for growth
yes.
helps
It's that
us
sense of
see
momentum
challenges
of moving
differently.
forward on
Yes,
things that
as
matter to you.
catalysts, not
That
just
feeling
threats.
provides
He
a
also
bigger
suggests
boost to your
mapping out
mood and
alternative
motivation
roads.
than
Like
just
a
ticking
mental plan
boxes.
B, C,
That makes
and
so much
D.
sense.
Sort of.
They
So if
studied
one path
thousands
gets
of
blocked
daily
by
diaries
failure,
from
you're
employees
not
in different
stuck.
companies.
You have other ways
The
forward.
number one
Increases
trigger for someone
flexibility.
Makes
reporting a
failure
best day,
feel less
making
final.
progress.
Much
Huh.
less. It's just
It's
a
like
detour.
if you're
and
painting
celebrating
a room,
small wins
right?
is part
Sometimes
of this
just
too,
doing
right?
the edging,
yeah,
the cutting
absolutely.
in.
Yes,
Even
exactly.
though the
Small
main
steps
part is still
forward
left,
builds
just getting those
momentum.
clean
Especially
edges
when the
feels
big
so
goal
satisfying.
feels far off.
Precisely.
Those
That
little
small
victories
step
keep you
creates a
going,
positive
reinforce
feedback
that
loop.
you can make
Better
progress.
mood,
Breaking
maybe
big
some
challenges
joy,
down
pride,
helps with
more
that.
motivation.
Creates
It
milestones.
builds on itself.
and
It's a
builds
really
that belief
powerful
in your ability to
psychological driver.
overcome
Okay,
things.
fantastic.
It's a positive
So
cycle.
cleared the
And
clutter,
social support
ditched
comes
the
back in
unrealistic
here,
stuff,
too,
picked one
for
meaningful thing,
resilience.
scheduled 15
Hugely
minutes
important.
for it.
Having
Got it.
people to lean
What's
on
next?
provides an
Number 4.
emotional buffer.
Number 4 shifts
Makes
focus
setbacks
to
less devastating.
physical fuel.
So nurturing those
Plan one meal.
connections is
One
actually
meal.
a
Again,
resilience
the emphasis is on one. Just
Definitely.
plan one specific
And he
meal for the
suggests
whole
that
week.
adversity
Right.
inventory
This isn't about
idea.
suddenly
Looking
becoming
back
a
at
master
past
meal
challenges.
prepper or going
Yeah,
on
and
some strict
reflecting on
diet.
what
Not
you
at all.
learned,
It's
how
much
you got
simpler.
through them.
It's about
It
bringing
reminds
a
you of your
little
own strength.
intention to how
Builds
you fuel
confidence
your
based
body
on your
and
own
mind.
history.
Exactly.
Because food
And
is
this isn't
fuel,
just
isn't it?
individual.
We hear
Companies
that all the
with
time from
resilient
experts on
cultures
the
do
show.
better,
The
less
connection
turnover,
between
more engagement.
nutrition
Okay,
and
so we have
energy,
principles.
clarity.
Yeah,
How
it's
do we make
fundamental.
this stuff
Yeah.
real?
And planning just one
Integrate
meal
it day to day. Let's
helps
talk
counteract,
practical application
you know,
and
that
social
accidental
connection.
eating
Right,
pattern.
because happiness
Accidental
isn't just
Yeah, like
theory.
grabbing
It's a
whatever's
tool.
easiest when you're
Acre
starving,
gives concrete
or
exercises
doing
to
impulse
weave
buys
this
at the
into your
grocery
life.
store because you went
Making it a
hungry,
practice,
or
not
just
just an
defaulting
idea.
to takeout
And those
again.
gratitude
again.
and 3
Okay,
good
so
things
planning
exercises
one meal
are
could
key
be
here.
They
Making a
really
brunch
are.
reservation for Saturday.
Consistently focusing on the
simple as that.
positive,
Or
however
saying,
small,
okay, Wednesday night
makes
we're
a
having that
huge
pasta
difference
dish.
to your
Maybe
baseline
coordinating with
happiness
roommates or
and your ability
family.
to handle bumps
Exactly.
in the road.
Yeah.
Or even just
It's brain
deciding,
training.
I'm
And
making
acts of
chili tonight.
kindness.
I'll
Doing
make double
things for
and have
others.
leftovers
Yeah,
for
that's
lunch
powerful
tomorrow.
too.
Smart.
Creates purpose.
Yeah, as empty nesters
connection,
now, my husband and I, we
and it
definitely do the
literally
6.45 p.m.
feel-good
kitchen
chemicals
stare down.
in your brain.
But what's
It's a
for dinner?
win-win.
Dan?
Okay, totally.
And
What are
social
we gonna
connections
eat?
again.
Having
We know they
even
help
one
resilience,
meal
but they're
plan
foundational
just
for
takes
happiness
that decision
overall.
off the table.
Absolutely fundamental.
Reduces
That sense of
decision
support,
fatigue.
belonging.
That's a huge benefit. Decision fatigue is real. It
It's
drains
crucial.
mental energy.
Research consistently shows
Planning a
people
meal
with strong
removes
social
one
ties
decision
are
point.
happier and
I actually
healthier.
did this
And the
recently,
opposite,
traveling for work.
isolation
I was
is
going to
really
Boston
damaging.
for a
Very
week,
much
lots
so,
of
both
meetings. I made
mentally
a
and
huge
physically. So
batch
actively nurturing
of
relationships,
my
family,
favorite
friends, colleagues,
soup chicken,
is
spinach,
vital.
bit of
Even at work.
jalapeno.
especially
It
at
is
work. Feeling
so
connected
good.
to colleagues boosts
Anyway, I packed it
satisfaction,
up in Tupperware.
teamwork,
Okay,
performance.
full disclosure,
Companies
one
that build
container
community
leaked a
see
little bit
results.
in the car.
So we
on
need
the
to
way
be
the
intentional
airport.
about this. It doesn't just happen.
Minor setback.
Requires
Minor
conscious
setback.
effort.
But
Setting aside
having that
time,
healthy,
making small
yummy lunch
gestures,
ready every
checking
single
in.
day
And reaching
it
out
made
for
such
support
a difference.
when
I felt
stressed,
way more
not trying to
focused,
tough
more
it out alone.
energized.
Crucial.
My team even
That's
noticed.
what
They
the
were like,
support
"Wow,
system
you're
is
really
for.
dialed in."
He
this
also
week."
talks
See,
about setting
that's a
goals.
perfect example,
Right.
and the research
For
backs this up.
happiness.
Yeah, having
Meal
meaningful,
planning links
achievable
to
goals gives
better
purpose and
nutrition,
direction.
healthier weight,
But the
saving
key
money,
is breaking
Right,
them
less
down.
impulse
Smaller
spending.
steps.
and better mental
Yeah,
health.
makes them
too.
less daunting.
Lower stress because
And
you know that
celebrating
meal is
progress
covered.
along the
You're
way
not
keeps
scrambling
motivation
last minute.
high.
It really was surprisingly
Reinforces the
impactful
positive
just knowing the
behavior.
lunch was
And
sorted.
finally,
Okay.
building
So,
habits.
brain dump.
Gratitude,
Free Free yourself.
exercise,
Choose
maybe
one
meditation.
thing.
Those
Hot 15
small,
scheduled,
consistent
plan
actions
one
are
meal.
powerful.
What's number
They
5?
build a
Number
foundation
5
for
is about
well-being
moving our bodies.
without eating massive
Plan 1.
willpower all the time.
Workout.
They
One
become
workout.
automatic.
Again,
Okay, let's
just
zoom
one.
out a bit.
I like this
What's the
pattern.
scientific
Keep it
bedrock this all
achievable.
rests on? You
The
mentioned
goal
positive
is to
psychology
commit to
earlier.
Right. Positive
and actually
psychology is
do
key.
one
Shifted
good
focus
workout
from
during
just
the week.
fixing what's
That
wrong,
feels
mental
so much more
illness, to
doable than
understanding what
thinking you
makes
have to hit the
life
gym
worth
5
living.
times. Especially when,
flourishing,
like we said,
happiness.
time feels
So
so
Acres'
scarce,
work
the world
fits
seems
squarely
designed to
in that
steal it.
tradition.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So one workout
And
is a
having that
fantastic
scientific
starting
backing gives
point.
it real weight.
It builds
It's not just nice
confidence,
ideas, there's
so you
data.
start to habit.
Like the
And
brain
workout can mean
plasticity
anything,
stuff.
right?
Neuroplasticity.
Whatever you enjoy.
Yeah, that's
Your
huge.
favorite yoga class.
The idea that our
a brisk
brains
walk
can
with a
physically
friend,
change
maybe that loop in
based on
Central
our
Park you
experiences
love.
and
Yeah.
thoughts.
Even
So
20
happiness
minutes
isn't
of something
fixed.
focused at
We
home.
can actually train our
key
brains
is
to be
planning it.
happier.
I'm actually
That's the
planning,
implication.
intending
Practices like
to get back to
gratitude,
this yoga studio I love in
mindfulness,
LA
kindness.
next week. Just having
They
that
literally
intention, knowing
rewire
I will
neural
schedule a
pathways
class,
over time.
already makes
Making
me feel better about
positivity
the
more
week.
of a default
That's great.
state.
And the science on this is
Potentially,
really
yes.
compelling.
Yeah.
Even
And then there's
small
Barbara
amounts of
Fredrickson's
activity make a
broaden and
difference.
build
Really?
theory.
Like
Broaden
how
and
small?
build.
Well, the
there's a
idea
big
that
study.
positive
University
emotions
of Sydney
don't just feel
published
good
in a
in the
major
moment.
cardiology
They actually
journal.
broaden our
They
awareness.
followed over
make us
70,000
more open,
people
creative,
for 5
better
years.
learners.
They found that just
and that helps
15
us
minutes a
build
week
resources,
per week
mental,
of vigorous
social,
activity
physical,
was
that help
linked
us
to a
cope better
17%
down the
lower
line.
risk
So
of
positive
dying
feelings
from
actually
any
make us
cause.
more resourceful for the
15 minutes
future.
a week.
That's the theory.
Seriously.
And we already
Seriously.
touched on the health
And
links.
if people
lower
did
blood
about
pressure,
50 minutes
better
a week,
immunity,
that risk
longevity,
reduction jumped to
often linked to
36%.
reduced stress
That
effects
is actually
from being
really
happier.
motivating. It
The
doesn't have to be
mind-body
hours and
connection
hours.
is so strong.
The key is
He also mentions
consistency
the
and
placebo
intention.
effect.
So just
Yeah,
like
in the
Hot
sense
15,
that believing
plan it,
you
put it
can
in the
become
calendar.
happier and
maybe
more
even put the
successful
link to the
can
streaming
itself
class
contribute
right
to
in the
making it
calendar
happen.
entry. Set an
Belief
alarm.
combined with
Perfect.
positive habits.
You mentioned doing
is
that
powerful.
Pilates recently.
And workplaces
Good
are
scheduling
catching
help.
on to this
Totally.
science.
That's the only reason
Increasingly,
that
yes.
happened.
They see the
Okay,
link
making
between
progress.
positive
Mental
emotions
clutter. Check.
and productivity,
Freeing. Check.
creativity,
One
problem
thing. Hot
solving.
15. Check. One
Gallup's
meal. Check.
work on
One
employee
workout,
engagement shows this
Number
clearly.
6.
Number
Happier
6,
workplaces just
hugely
function
important,
better.
often
Lower
overlooked.
turnover, too.
Plan
Right.
time for
It's a competitive
rest.
advantage.
Rest.
And schools are using it too.
And the
Positive
key here is finding just
psychology
one
and
moment of
education.
quiet
Teaching
rest
resilience,
during the week,
gratitude,
specifically
positive
without
thinking.
looking at your phone.
It improves
Oof,
academic
that's the
results,
hard part, isn't it? The
behavior,
phone.
It really is. We trick
Equipping
ourselves
kids
into
with
thinking
life skills.
scrolling is rest.
So the science really
Right.
emphasizes
Doom
that
scrolling on the
happiness
couch.
is an
Doesn't really
active
feel restful
process.
afterwards.
Absolutely.
Not at
Not
all. It keeps
passive.
the brain
Something
buzzing,
we
keeps the nervous
cultivate
system
through
kind of on
intentional
edge.
practice. It puts the
True
control back
rest
in our
is
hands.
about
Which is really
disengaging,
empowering, isn't it? It's
letting
not
the
all
mind
down
and
to
body
luck or
actually relax.
circumstance.
Exactly.
Okay,
We have
so what
agency
counts
over
as
our
true
own
rest
well-being.
Oh, lots
Okay,
of things.
so let's wrap this up.
Making a cup of tea
If we boil down the
and
happiness
just sitting
advantage,
quietly with
the
it.
absolute core
Reading
message
an actual
is
physical book.
Happiness isn't the finish
Pages,
line
remember
reward for
those?
success.
Vaguely.
It's
taking
the
a
fuel.
slightly longer bath
It's
or
what
shower,
gets you there.
maybe without
and the
rushing,
7 principles
finding a
Acre
bench in a
outlines, they're
park,
basically a
or
practical
just sitting in the
toolkit
backyard,
for cultivating
listening to
that
the birds.
fuel.
Yeah,
without the phone.
actionable
Okay,
strategies.
Leaving the phone behind.
Not huge
That's
leaps,
key.
but
Definitely.
consistent
Or maybe it's something
practices.
gentle
And the
you
underlying
enjoy,
message
like
is one of
strumming a guitar,
hope, really.
knitting,
Happiness is
painting,
achievable,
something
something we
that
can
quiets
create
the mental chatter.
intentionally.
I know
Which
sometimes
feels
I struggle
incredibly
with this. It
relevant
feels
right now, doesn't it?
unproductive.
In such a
like I
high-stress
should be doing
world.
something.
That's
It
such a
offers
common
path to
feeling.
success that's
But the research
sustainable and
completely
fulfilling.
flips that
And it's
idea on its head.
practical, grounded in
Rest is
exercises we
incredibly
can
productive.
actually do.
It's essential.
Definitely. And
How's
built
that?
on that foundation
Well,
of
a
social
study in
connection,
Germany,
which is just
University
so
of
critical
Constance,
for thriving.
found that
Ultimately,
even
the idea
just
is
10
that
minutes of
boosting your
quiet rest
happiness lifts
activates the
everything else. It
parasympathetic
empowers
nervous
you no
system.
matter
The
what's
calm
going on
down
around
system.
Exactly.
So
It
maybe
counteracts
this
stress.
question for
Then
listeners
you've
to
got
ponder
Harvard
is,
Medical School research
what's one
showing
small
mindful
thing,
meditation
one
basically,
principle from
focused
this deep
rest
dive
for
that
the
you can
brain,
start experimenting
improves
with
clarity
today?
and focus.
Yeah, maybe
The
just
brain
start a simple
needs
gratitude
that
practice.
reboot.
Like
Or
restarting
consciously
your computer.
reframe one
Kind
small
of.
challenge.
And other
See
big
what
studies,
happens.
Because
NIH,
lasting change
University of
comes from those
California,
small,
link
consistent
relaxation
steps.
practices to better
As Acre
physical health,
shows.
preventing
Happiness is a
stress-related
choice,
illnesses.
and
So
it's a
rest
skill.
isn't
A
a
skill
luxury.
definitely worth developing.
It's
Thanks for
necessary
taking this deep dive
maintenance.
with us.
Yeah,
Absolutely
think about
necessary.
it. What
Especially if you
resonated?
want to
What could
avoid
you
burnout
apply?
and
The
that
exploration
feeling of
doesn't have to
chronic
end here.
overwhelm. It has to be prioritized.
And planned, just like the workout or the Hot 15. Look at the week, find a slot, even a small one, and protect it. Phone off.
You got it. Intentional rest.
Okay. We are almost there. The final item, number 7 on the checklist for a great week, feels important.
It is. In many ways, it might be the most important. Number 7 is connect with someone.
Ah, connection.
Yes, intentionally plan time to connect with someone who brings meaning to your life, someone who makes you feel good, feel seen. And this is beyond just, work Zooms or quick emails.
Right. Deeper stuff. Actual quality time.
Exactly. Think about scheduling coffee with a friend you haven't seen, planning dinner, maybe cooking together, or going out.
A walk in the park, going to a museum, walking the dogs together.
All perfect examples.
Yeah.
Any activity that fosters that genuine connection allows for real conversation, shared experience.
And like you said about the workout, having a time slot plan makes it easier to actually ask someone, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It moves it from, we should totally get together sometime, to, hey, are you free Tuesday evening?
Yeah. I know for me, those long drives to Boston, I try to use that time to call old friends. It's built-in connection time.
That's a fantastic habit. And even if time is super tight, a quick thinking of you call, or even just a meaningful text can make a difference.
Maybe using that Hot 15 slot some days. Before work starts, send a few connection messages.
Great idea. It's especially important because making and keeping friends as adults, it gets harder, right? Life gets busy.
So busy.
Connection needs to be intentional in a world that's constantly pulling at your time and energy.
And this ties into some really major long-term research, right? You mentioned the Harvard study.
Yes, the Harvard Study of Adult Development. It's incredible. Started way back in 1938, still going today. Over 80 years.
Wow.
It's probably the most important study ever done on what makes humans happy and healthy healthy over the long haul.
And what's the big takeaway, especially about connection?
The clearest, most consistent finding, according to Dr. Robert Waldinger, the current director, is this. Close relationships. More than money, more than fame, more than career achievement. Close relationships are what keep people happy and healthy throughout their lives.
Really? More than anything else?
That's what over 80 years of data shows. Good relationships protect our bodies and our brains. They buffer us against life's difficulties. They help delay mental and physical decline.
Wow.
People who are more socially connected are happier, they're physically healthier, and they live longer than people who are less well-connected who feel lonely.
And loneliness has the opposite effect.
Exactly. Loneliness is linked to earlier health decline, faster cognitive decline, less life satisfaction. It's a powerful predictor of well-being.
It's like we kind of know this stuff deep down, don't we? We know connection matters.
We absolutely do. It's intuitive.
But life gets in the way. The busyness takes over. This checklist item, it just forces you to consciously prioritize it again.
Precisely. The Harvard findings aren't necessarily shocking news, but this checklist provides that practical nudge, that framework to actually act on what we know is important, even when life feels chaotic.
Okay, so let's just run through them one last time. The 7 things. Number 1, brain dump. Get it all out.
Clear the mental decks.
Number 2, free yourself. Cross off what you're not doing this week. No guilt.
Liberating.
Number 3, choose one thing, something meaningful, and schedule the Hot 15 to make progress.
Progress, not perfection.
Number 4, plan one meal, just one intentional meal.
Fuel yourself wisely.
Number 5, plan one workout. Again, just one. Schedule it.
Move your body.
Number 6, plan time for rest. Quiet time, no phone.
Recharge. Essential.
And number 7, connect with someone. Meaningful interaction.
Nurture those bonds.
It sounds so simple when you listen like that, but also really powerful.
It really is. By intentionally hitting these 7 points each week, you're not just trying to have a better week in isolation. You're building a foundation for a more, fulfilling, balanced life overall.
And remember, that checklist is there for you. Downloadable at melrobbins.com. Super easy way to keep these front and center.
Great resource.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Look back at weeks that felt awful, really draining. How many of these 7 things actually happened?
That's a really insightful question to ask. Often the answer is probably not many. Maybe none.
Yeah. So ultimately, this whole deep dive, the 7-day reset, it's about realizing that creating a better life isn't always about massive changes.
No, often it's the small things.
It's the consistent, small, intentional decisions we make every day based on these kinds of principles. Taking back control of our time, our energy, our focus, our joy.
Especially in a world that feels like it's constantly trying to chip away at them.
Exactly. It's empowering.
And those small efforts, they ripple outwards too. Not just for you, but for the people you connect with.
So true. Okay, so give this 7-day reset a shot this week. See how it feels. We'd love to hear how it goes for you, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you found this helpful, maybe share it. Share it with someone you care about. You never know who might need that little nudge to prioritize themselves and take back their week.